There was something honest about breakfast in the 1950s. No smoothie bowls, no supplements, no complicated gadgets. Just food that filled you up, made with whatever you had on hand, and served with care. It wasn't about health trends or pretty photos. It was about getting through the day, starting warm, and maybe having a little sweetness before facing the world. These meals were practical and full of intention. They were cooked while kids were still rubbing their eyes, while radios hummed low in the background and the percolator bubbled on the stove. Some dishes were meant to stretch ingredients, others were made for comfort, and all of them were rooted in tradition, thrift, and love. 1. Cornmeal mush, fried and golden. Leftover mush from yesterday's dinner? Let it chill overnight, then slice it thick and fry it up in bacon grease. Crispy edges, soft middle. Drizzle on syrup if you had it, or just a pat of butter. Housewives loved it because it turned scraps into something hearty. Kids just liked the crunch. It filled the house with the smell of brown cornmeal and sizzling fat, a smell that said, something warm is coming. 2. Scrambled eggs with American cheese. Nothing gourmet here, just eggs cooked low and slow in a bit of butter, with American cheese folded in at the end until it melted into velvety yellow clouds. Served on chipped plates next to buttered toast. It was a breakfast you could make half asleep, and probably did. Some days it was all you needed to feel like you could take on the world, or at least the laundry. 3. Cinnamon toast. A slice of white bread, toasted just enough, then spread with real butter and sprinkled with a pre-mixed shaker of cinnamon sugar. The butter would melt and soak into the bread. The sugar would crackle under your teeth. It was a warm, sweet bite of comfort that tasted like childhood. There was often a jar on the table just for this. A little glass shaker of sugar and cinnamon mixed by hand. 4. Creamed chipped beef on toast. Also called SOS by veterans, this salty, creamy concoction was made by simmering dried beef in a peppery white sauce. Ladled over toast, it was a staple in military homes and on tight budgets. Filling, fast, and loaded with sodium and nostalgia. It may not have looked like much, but it tasted like something solid. 5. Buttermilk biscuits with gravy. Biscuits made from scratch, no measuring, just by feel. Gravy made from bacon drippings, flour, and milk. Poured hot over fluffy biscuits and eaten slow. It was the kind of breakfast that made you sit down whether you wanted to or not. And if you were lucky, there were leftovers for the next day's breakfast too. 6. Banana fritters. Overripe bananas mashed into batter and dropped by spoonfuls into hot oil. Fried until golden and sprinkled with powdered sugar while still warm. Sweet, soft, a little messy, and always gone too soon. You didn't need a recipe, just a sense of timing in a good pan. 7. Fried bologna and egg sandwich. Fried bologna slices curled up in the pan, the edges crisping while an egg sizzled beside them, slapped between bread and maybe a dab of mustard. It wasn't elegant, but it was hot, salty, and satisfying. Just what you needed before work, served on paper napkins or wax paper if you had to run. 8. Milk toast. Toasted bread soaked in warm milk and sprinkled with sugar. Soft, bland, and comforting. Served to the sick, the old, and kids who didn't feel like chewing. It wasn't exciting, but it was love in a bowl. The kind of meal your grandmother swore by. 9. Stovetop oatmeal with butter and brown sugar. Oats stirred slowly until thick and steamy. A pat of butter, a spoonful of brown sugar. You'd watch the sugar melt into swirls. It smelled like warmth and made cold mornings easier to handle. Some folks added raisins or a splash of milk if they were feeling fancy. 10th, cottage cheese pancakes. Fluffy pancakes with cottage cheese folded in, slightly tangy, a little creamy, served with applesauce or sour cream, maybe both. Quietly nutritious before anyone cared about protein. A great way to stretch eggs when money was tight. 11th, coffee cake with cinnamon crumb topping. A soft cake baked with a thick layer of cinnamon sugar crumble on top. Cut into generous squares and served with percolated coffee. It showed up at potlucks, Sunday tables, and mornings when you just wanted something sweet. Made in Pyrex pans with worn recipe cards taped to the fridge. 12th, savory grits with cheddar. Grits cooked low and slow, stirred with cheddar until creamy, served hot with a knob of butter. Sometimes eaten in silence, sometimes with conversation. Always dependable. Down south, this was breakfast royalty. 13. Poached egg on buttered rice. Leftover rice, reheated with a bit of butter and salt. Top with a poached egg. When the yolk broke and soaked the grains, you had something warm and rich that felt more filling than it had any right to. Served in mismatched bowls with the radio playing in the background. 14th, molasses bran muffins. Thick, hearty muffins baked dark with molasses and wheat bran. Not flashy, but serious. They smelled like someone trying, like someone cared. A grown-up muffin that left you feeling like you made a smart choice. 15. Broiled grapefruit. A halved grapefruit sprinkled with brown sugar and slid under the broiler until bubbling. Served on a saucer with a serrated spoon. Tart, sweet, and just fancy enough to impress your mother-in-law. It was like putting on lipstick at the breakfast table. 16. English muffins with apple butter. Crisped in the toaster, then spread with apple butter. Sweet and spiced, often homemade. You licked your fingers without shame, and the house smelled like fall, no matter the season. 17. Soft-boiled eggs with toast soldiers. Eggs boiled until the yolk was just runny. Toast cut into thin strips for dipping. Simple fun on a school morning. It felt a little bit elegant, even if the eggshell sat in a cracked saucer. Parents liked it because it was quick. Kids liked it because it was fun. 18. Cold apples with peanut butter. Crisp apple slices with peanut butter from a knife. No plate, no ceremony. Just crunch, cream, and enough fuel to get out the door. If it stuck to the roof of your mouth, you were doing it right. 19. Orange juice gelatin cubes. Orange juice mixed with gelatin, set in a dish, and cut into bouncy cubes. Served cold, wiggly, and bright. It looked modern, and kids thought it was dessert. Sometimes you'd find them in lunchboxes too. 20. Raisin toast with butter. Store-bought raisin bread toasted and buttered. You could smell the cinnamon before it hit the plate. Easy, sweet, and strangely comforting. A favorite of busy moms and distracted dads. 21. Jelly roll pancakes. Thin pancakes smeared with jam, rolled up and sliced into spirals. No syrup needed. It felt like a treat and looked like something from a party. The kind of breakfast you made when company was coming over. 22. Cold rice with milk and sugar. Leftover rice, cold milk poured on top, and a spoonful of sugar stirred in. A poor man's cereal that still somehow felt special. Eaten straight from the bowl, usually while standing by the stove. 23. Tomato juice with salt and pepper. A glass of tomato juice, seasoned with a shake of salt and pepper. Served cold, it was considered healthy. Whether it tasted good was a separate question. Doctors recommended it, and families drank it. 24. Creamed eggs on toast. Hard-boiled eggs chopped and folded into creamy white sauce. Poured over toast. It looked plain, but the warmth made it worth sitting down for. You could stretch 4 eggs to feed 6 this way. 25. Jelly and cottage cheese on toast. Hot toast with a scoop of cold cottage cheese and a spoonful of jelly. Sweet, creamy, odd, and oddly good. Showed up in women's magazines as the new slim breakfast. 26. Sweet rice pudding with cinnamon. Made on the stove with milk, sugar, and a sprinkle of cinnamon, it stuck to your spoon and stayed with you all morning. A quiet pleasure on cold days. 27. Puffed oven pancakes, Dutch babies. A batter of eggs, flour, and milk poured into a hot skillet and baked until it rose high and golden. The edges puffed, the center stayed soft. You dusted it with sugar or lemon juice and raced to eat it before it deflated. Kids watched it rise through the oven window like it was a magic show. 28. Bacon and egg cups. Bacon curled into muffin tins, filled with an egg, then baked. Neat, tidy, and felt way fancier than it was. Housewives liked them because cleanup was a breeze. 29. Shredded wheat with warm cream. Big biscuits of wheat cereal, softened with warm cream or milk. You'd spoon on sugar and wait just long enough for it to soak in. It was slow food, the good kind. Best enjoyed by the window, with the sun coming in. 30. Apples and raisins in oatmeal. As the oatmeal cooked, diced apples and raisins went in. They softened, sweetened, and made the whole pot smell like someone had done something right. A practical, comforting favorite. 31. Cream of wheat with butter and sugar. Silky smooth and warm. A bit of butter and a spoonful of sugar stirred in just before serving. It felt like being taken care of. Some stirred in cinnamon, others added a splash of evaporated milk. 30-second egg custard cups. Eggs, milk, sugar, and nutmeg baked in little dishes until they wobbled just right. Served warm, no garnish needed. It was breakfast disguised as dessert. Every bite was a spoonful of softness. 33rd. Toasted pound cake with jam. Leftover pound cake sliced and toasted until the edges crisped. A spoonful of jam melted into the cracks. It was what happened when dessert snuck into breakfast. Good with coffee, better with silence. 34th. Ham and potato hash. Chopped potatoes and leftover ham fried together until browned and crackling. Maybe an egg on top. It made the whole kitchen smell like Sunday. Every bite tasted like you were home. 35th. Peanut butter and banana milkshake. Banana, peanut butter, milk. Blended and poured into a glass. Cold, thick, and sweet. It wasn't fancy, but it sure was fast. And it kept kids quiet all the way to school. These breakfasts weren't trying to be perfect. They didn't win awards, but they fed people. They warmed cold kitchens, filled lunch boxes, and made the house smell like someone had their act together. You didn't need a cookbook, just a skillet, a spoon, and a little heart. Maybe this week, bring one of them back. Let the toast burn a little. Let the coffee percolate. Because sometimes the best breakfasts are the ones that don't try too hard. They just show up warm.